Okay, thank you. I'd like to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. The first item we have is assignment for request for council action. We have several for the Finance Committee. 2566 Revised Civil Service Rule 6C5, 2567 Water Rates, 2568 Expenditure, Kleinfelder Fiscal Year 25 CDBG, 2569 Interurban Building Relocation and Use, 2570 Grant Application, Violent Crime Reduction Funding, Police, 2571 Cleveland Clinic Children's Hospital Aquatic Therapy Lease, MCRC, 2572 Purchase of Vault Restroom for Roscoe Ewing Park, 2573 Engineering Agreement with Winning Lake Erie, US 42 Resurfacing, 2574 LPA Project Agreement with ODOT, US 42 Resurfacing and Bump Outs, 2575 Increase PO 25101-004 Right Traffic Control Engineering. All right, the first, next one we have is 2566 Revised Civil Service Rule 6C5. Who's handling this one?
Thank you, Mr.
Chief?
President. I can handle that.
Okay.
We're just requesting to add the language of physical fitness testing guidelines for lateral transfer patrol candidates will align with the most recent guidelines for entry-level patrol officer candidates. What that allows us to do is essentially mirror our entry-level physical fitness requirements, which then mirrors the state OPATA requirements. And the reason for this is the state recently changed the rules and added a second opportunity for candidates to take the PT test if they failed the first one. Our laterals did not have that opportunity, so we want to just make the language all consistent throughout.
So currently the lateral, they got grandfathered in, and you said they had to take the test anyways?
They still have to take the test. The laterals, as it currently sits, they're one and done. If you fail the PT test, that's it. Whereas our new hires, because of the change from OPATA, they get a second chance. So if they take the PT test, they fail it, maybe they're 10 feet short of the run, they now get another opportunity. Without this language, our laterals still would not get that opportunity.
And what's the time period you're allowed to try it again? How many, do you get a week? Do you get, what do you get?
I think it was within 2 weeks is what they provided.
Is it, so they're equal for the new hires and laterals, 2 weeks time?
Right.
period?
We just want to make it consistent across the board.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, I know it went through Civil Service, and the Civil Service Commission felt good about this as well.
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
I'm sorry, John. The other advantage is that if there's future changes, instead of having to come back to council each and every time and keep changing our rule, it'll just mirror what the state OPATA does.
Makes sense.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The next one's just to submit a request in for the water rates is 2567. Though the meeting doesn't happen until May, speaking with Keith, we wanted to just put this in here so people can start thinking about it, because Keith mentioned to me today that if they have a meeting, that means they're raising water rates.
Right.
If they don't have a meeting, they don't. Keith?
Right, I'd like, I assume you're gonna send this off to utility rate review, and I just wanted to bring it here so that we could start working on scheduling that in advance. Because if we wait till after that meeting in May, I don't think we'll be done before council's recess in the summer, and I wanna give our residents and businesses the maximum time, advance notice of the rate increase, which we all assume is coming at the meeting on May 15th. They are required to give us 6 months' notice, so it will be, they will tell us at the meeting on May 15th, most likely, that they're going to increase our rates effective January 1st, 2026. And then once we know that amount, we can go straight to utility rate review in late May, if you are okay with that now.
Yeah, so I think, once we get that to utility rate review and they discuss it, you want to give as much advance notice to the resident what the changes are going to be. And historically, we've always passed through the increase, because if they increase it to us, we can't absorb that. We have to pass it through. And if you recall, the rate changes, I think that if they do an increase in rate, they have to increase their rate in the city of Avon, and they can't increase ours more than 10%, I think, of their rate.
Our contract specifies that our rate is no more than, I think it's 10% over the lowest rate that they charge anybody in Avon Lake. So that prevents them from effectively subsidizing their water system by overcharging us.
Right.
Has there ever been a year that Avon did not increase?
There have. They had a changeover in executive directors, and they didn't. And they were doing their increases July 1st for a while, and then they switched over to, now the new executive director seems to like calendar year, so everything's been calendar year. Because this meeting was always, it always used to be in, what was it, like, it was like November? They would always have this meeting in November and announce a rate increase to take effect July 1st. And then they've kind of switched to where now this meeting's in May to, because they're required to give us 6 months' notice, so they have this meeting in May, and then they'll give us notice for a rate increase in January.
So this year, we're safe. Yeah. Next year, maybe not.
Well, we already had a rate increase in
Yeah, that's
January,
Well,
but they.
safe for many
they-
more rate increases.
They had informed us, the one that we had in January, they had told us about like 2 or 3 years ago, because
Right.
they'd given us a 3-year rate increase where they'd informed us of all 3 at once.
And they may do that again this time.
They could.
Yes.
Or, I mean, in theory, they might have this meeting to tell us they're not increasing our rates, but I'll believe that when I see it.
Or maybe
so-
a rate reduction. You never know.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Hold your breath, John.
Okay. All right, so that's on the radar, so everybody just keep that on the radar. 2568 expenditure for Kleinfelder fiscal year 25 CDBG. Andrew, is this you?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. So previously, City Council authorized the city to send out RFQs for administrative services and application for a program year 25 CDBG program. This is to award that contract to Kleinfelder. So in the past, we've used those funds for code enforcement in low to moderate income areas in the city, as well as Medina County Public Transit. Thank you.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Paul?
I was waiting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Number 5, 2569 is going to be held, so we'll discuss that at the next meeting about the interurban building relocation and use. 25, is that correct, Andrew? We want to hold that? Okay. 2570, grant application for violent crime reduction funding. Please, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a request to apply for and accept, if awarded, the 2025 State Violent Crime Reduction Funding Grant. And this will provide some SWAT equipment for our officers who participate in the multi-jurisdictional SWAT team here in the county.
Any questions?
How much, do you know how much the grant's for?
Yes, ma'am, it is for $11,097.
Thank
No
you.
matching funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 2571, Cleveland Clinic Children's Hospital Aquatic Therapy Lease, MCRC. Jansen?
Thank you, Mr. President. The rec center has a variety of spaces that are leased to the Cleveland Clinic and have been for years. We were recently approached by Cleveland Clinic Children's Hospital to see if they could lease the use of our swimming pools for aquatic therapy for children. So we sat down, met with them, shared our current lease that we have with the Cleveland Clinic, and they wanted to model a new lease for the children's hospital after our existing lease. So we negotiated with them to a monthly rate of $875, which will cover using a lane or waterside splashdown area or our zero depth entry at the leisure pool for the rec center, depending on their clients' needs. And there is a chance that this could potentially increase into multiple lanes as the program continues to grow. The lease was drafted very similar to the one that we have with the Cleveland Clinic, and the law director has had the chance to review this. Cleveland Clinic Law has also reviewed and approved it. This will run from May 1st, 2025 through December 31st of 2027. The reason for the emergency clause is we would like to get this in place so they can begin scheduling patients in May.
I mean, Mr. Huber, this is a license agreement. I guess the only question I have, usually license agreements are revocable. And since it's not a lease, even though it's a 2-year license, and I didn't look in here, but I think, is it still revocable?
Well, I looked at it as a term for 2 years, and that it would be revisited at that time. That's what I understood from what was explained to me anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the definition, when he was talking lease, it's not a lease, it's a license, and usually license agreements are like tickets. You have a right to be there until it's revoked, but I guess that's not our problem. Okay with that.
I
Chet?
had a couple questions. In that Exhibit A, it talks about you have to supply a monthly usage invoice. Is that going to be a problem for your department, or can it just say services rendered for the month of?
So we currently do that for the Cleveland Clinic, main branch. So it will not be problematic for us to continue doing it the same way that we currently are with.
It also talked about everything they had to schedule, the city had to schedule through Epic. That's the hospital software, right?
Correct. We communicate through them, with them based on our pool schedules. And that happens with our aquatics department, and they plan everything out ahead of time so that they know kind of what's going on.
Okay.
But the time frame that they're using, it's my understanding it'll be a 4-hour time block around the afternoon hours, which is typically our slower times in the leisure pool.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause?
Mr. Coyne?
Mayor?
I'm sorry, Jim. Under page 2, additional conditions, I'm not the lawyers in the room, but that first sentence of number 1 shall expire at the end of the term, provided however that the licensee or license is terminable by either licensor or licensee for any reason upon 30-day written notice. I think that's what you were talking about, Mr. Coyne.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's 30 days, but usually a license goes quicker than that, but that's fine. I just didn't understand what the intent was of, I guess they could terminate and not pay us. I mean, we're not relying on the income, and I guess it doesn't really matter to us one way or the other. It'd be great to have them there to help us, I guess, but yeah, you're correct, Mayor, that, either of us can walk away in 30 days, but I guess the only way we'd ever walk away is if there was trouble, I would
Right.
imagine. I mean,
Right, I don't think we would, I guess, from their perspective, kind of like with the Healthier Diner.
If it's not-
Sometimes their personnel or circumstances change and they can't continue
Right.
the program. It gives them some sort out instead of
Yeah.
paying for something they're not using.
That's true. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2572, purchase of a replacement vault restroom for Roscoe Ewing Park. Jensen?
Thank you, Mr. President. As you may or may not be aware, we have a number of permanent vault restrooms at our parks, mostly the ones that do not have running water available in the park. And we utilize these, and the park users utilize them on a daily basis throughout the season. And our permanent vault restrooms are actually the only ones that are open year-round due to the fact that they don't have to be winterized. We have a number of these throughout town. This particular unit has been in our budget cycle for 3 years now. It's been deferred every year as we've just have had a large number of projects, and we're getting around to wanting to begin replacing this one. It is going to be replacing a Romtech unit, which was installed in the early 2000s. That unit has a plastic underground shell and a fiberglass structure above ground with wood siding on it. It's reaching the end of life. The tank is heaving out of the ground with the freeze-thaw cycles. The concrete's busted around it. The door barely opens. And Roscoe Ewing Park sees probably the most activity from walkers and people utilizing the multi-purpose trail. It's in a great location. We would like to install what would be our second CXT restroom. This is precast concrete. It comes in on a truck and it's set with a crane. It's got a concrete below ground holding tank and a concrete structure. The entire thing's about 6 inches of concrete. And most park districts and municipal parks are going with these units. The Medina County Park District has numerous ones. I believe they just purchased 6 in the last month as well. So installing this unit will set us up to be in a good shape probably for the next 25 years at least. The cost has doubled since we installed our last one in 2020. So this particular purchase will be utilizing the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program, which we've purchased many park amenities through. The city is a member of Sourcewell, and it has been competitively bid.
Any questions?
Jensen, will it be in the same spot, or?
Yeah, that's our intent, to keep it in the same location. This particular unit, the way it's quoted, is so that it's situated in the same direction as well, and the door and the protective area that's around the door is all facing Guilford, and the vent will be on the back side of it as well.
So will you be able to, you'll have to remove the other one first and then place this one?
Correct. We'll, part of the removal of the existing one will be something that we'll do in-house. The installation of this one and the excavating and site prep will be taken care of through this contract. So basically, they hire an excavator to dig and prep the hole, and then a crane comes and sets it the same day and then backfills it. So it's a relatively quick installation.
Okay.
So we'd like to do that this summer.
Because you are right, it is the perfect location. It's halfway for people using those trails, and I know that sometimes there's a line there for people
Yeah.
waiting to use it.
Yeah.
It's very well utilized, but it is the perfect spot too, because there's so much traffic there that I'm sure there's no vandalism usually or anything with that one.
Right.
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 2573, agreement with Wheeling Lake Erie, Wheeling and L&E Railway US 42 resurfacing project. Patrick?
Thank you. Anytime we do a project that involves approaching a railroad crossing, we have to get this engineering agreement approved. This is the 42, which the resurfacing will start at Lafayette, extend north through the square to Homestead. So we do cross their crossing south of Smith. This will allow them to review our plans and ultimately issue us a permit to be there. I would like to ask for the emergency clause as well, because this project, we're hoping to bid it in June, and we need to get this in place as soon as we can.
And Mr. Huber reviewed this?
Not this particular one, but this is probably the 4th or 5th one we've done in the last couple of years. But
Okay, so it's the same agreement.
Mhm.
All right, any questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause?
Second, including the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 2574, LPA agreement with ODOT US 42 resurfacing and bump outs. Patrick?
Yes, this is that same project. As council knows, there's 2 different grants that apply. The $902,000 that came from NOACA, and we were successful in getting the $500,000 for the bump outs. Total $1.4 million of the $1.9 million is thus covered by grants. This is agreement between the city and ODOT to allow the city to administer the project, bid it, do the inspection. It saves us quite a bit of money over having to pay for ODOT's personnel to do it. And I would like to ask for the emergency clause again for the same reason as before.
And Mr. Huber reviewed this, or is this another one that we've signed a bunch of?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause?
Second, including the emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And finally, 2575, increase PO 25,004 to 35,000, right traffic control from the engineering department. Patrick?
Thank you. Yes, we have hired Right Traffic Control. We used them in the fall, and again, when they came back out this spring to do the rehabilitation on East Reagan. They're doing a great job, and it certainly frees up our service department. They have 2 people on site full-time every day that they're out there, but they are not inexpensive. We're hoping this will cover the rest of the project, but we may be back.
Questions?
Move to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there anything else to come before finance? All right, get ready for council. We have about an hour. Meeting is adjourned. That's a fast one.
Yeah.
All right.